Sports Podcast.
It's pod time. Little throwback to the
That was
first episode, as we're on the 20th episode. Brilliant. But that landed really well. So, welcome to the All Sports Podcast with me, Matt, and today, Joel and James. Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
So today, we will be discussing the Euros football. Got a little bit of golf, and having just run through the agenda, I've already forgotten what we're going to talk about. A little bit of golf with the Genesis Open and the preview to the Open, the final major of the year. It's come round too quickly. I wish we had another 4 in store, but we're going to have to wait another year. We've got Wimbledon tennis and Sir Jimmy Anderson's final test match for England. But we'll get straight into the Euros then. So everybody watched the game, England versus Spain. Let's not talk about the semis or the build-up. Let's just talk about the final specific. Actually, maybe on the semis, because we recorded before both semis took place. I was just going to say, I actually thought England looked better in the semis, and I could see that they were starting to play well, and that gave me hope for the final. How did you guys see it?
Yeah, I'd probably say the same. That change in formation helped a lot. I think it brought players like Foden and Bellingham a bit more into the game than they were before. Change of formation was correct. I still don't think the personnel was great in the semi, but it allowed him to make the subs that he needed to, change the game and ultimately nick it before we got to extra time, which was great.
Yeah, I think the first half of the semi-final was obviously England's best performance. Like, they moved the ball really quickly. They were finding Foden in dangerous positions, and he looked really effective. Him and Bellingham actually linked up a couple of times, I think, which they'd barely done all tournaments. So, yeah, there were lots of positive signs from that first half in the semi-final. At half-time, he went back to a back four and then continued with that into the final. So read into that what you will, but they looked.
Yeah, well, what are you reading into it? Like, what was the reason for switching to a back four in the semi when they were dominating ish?
I actually think in the semi he was trying to. Southgate was probably trying to be more adventurous. He was trying to kill the game, so pushing Saka further forward and bringing Shaw in on that left hand side. I think was designed to, go and kill the game and go and win it. But it had the opposite effect, and England dropped back, weren't really able to build any kind of like threatening attacks. Saka and Foden completely went out of the game. And for the most part, the Dutch were on top in that second half of the semi-final. Yeah. It was marginal. Like they weren't tearing England to shreds or like creating lots of dangerous situations, but they were probably just about in control of the game, I would say. Obviously, he brings on Watkins, and he brings on Watkins and Palmer, and they do what they did, and it was all kind of they're into the final. It doesn't really matter how they got there. It was just all about that one game, and I think the reason that he kept the back four for the final was actually the opposite of the reason that he made the change at halftime in the semi, which was to keep the space between the lines really short. Obviously, having Bellingham in front of Shaw, providing that physical protection from like the danger that comes down that Spain right hand side. And I think largely in that first half in the final, it worked. They stifled Spain, and they weren't really able to create anything. I'm not sure if I'm going too far with this, but that's my reading of the back four versus back three situation.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think the formation back four, once you had Luke Shaw there, it was a bit more balanced, so I didn't really have a problem with it. I think my only sort of gripe with watching some of it back today was Shaw looked pretty solid on that left-hand side, like he was holding Yamal tight, and it was like he was going to be the danger guy. He was very quiet first 45 minutes, but Walker didn't do the same on the other side. Like sort of Williams was very much in the game, Cucurella was very much in the game, and it was just all coming down that side. Whereas you just thought if we'd had that back five, maybe the extra layer of protection with Saka, who I know is not a defender, but it's another body to stop the overlap. I just thought that back five would have worked better in the final than probably the back four did. And it's hindsight, though, isn't it?
It's true, and it is hindsight. But I also do think the best football team won, and they played. They played better football, and they were more direct, and their attacking play was more threatening than ours was. The main threat that we've had throughout the tournament when he's come on has been Cole Palmer, and he's just not got enough minutes. And maybe he'd have fallen into the same trap that the other wingers have and attacking players have, and wouldn't have been able to have that impact for the full 90 that he has done in the last 15-20 minutes that he's had in game time. But I still think he's probably, for the minutes he played, he's probably one of our best players for the tournament.
Yeah, I think no one will be begrudged that Spain won it. They won 7 from 7, first team since Brazil 2002 to do that. And it's not like they just beat anybody. They beat some of the hardest teams in the competition. They beat Germany, they beat France, they've beaten us. Like, they've done it the hard way. I think too. In that game yesterday, didn't have Pedri, and Rodri went off at half time. Like, you are missing some huge players. Yeah,
100%. They're definitely worthy winners of the tournament. Like, been amazing to watch. Honestly, I wasn't expecting a lot from them going into it. A lot of their players are pretty new to me, especially that Fabian Ruiz in the middle of the park, and I thought he was brilliant again yesterday. Like, there was a couple of moments where he just turned Bellingham, and I think he looks so good. And obviously they've had Yamal has burst onto. I know he's had an amazing season for Barcelona, but obviously doing it at international level consistently for a whole tournament is super, super impressive. And he's kind of established himself as a real elite player already, probably.
At 17.
Yeah, 17. Wasn't he 17 on the day or the day before?
Yeah, he's 17 now. The scary thing was when you consider them without Gavi, Pedri. Right. Yeah, these guys are going to be here for the next 10 years. Like, if they keep playing like that, you pretty much think they're going to be the favourite for the World Cup as well in a couple of years. So all these players will just be more experienced, probably better, more physical players, and they're going to be a scary team to play.
Yeah, obviously this coach that they've got has something about him. I know that he'd won competitions with the youth teams and stuff like that, and I think he'd worked with some of the players that are in the squad now at that level, and that probably stands for something. But to get them playing in a way that he has in such a short period of time with some really young players, and then some other kind of ragtag players, really, Laporte's in Saudi. I know he's a really good player, but he's playing in the Saudi league. He's not exactly playing at elite level football week in, week out. Cucurella has been he's had an amazing reputation for a few years, but has not been great since going to Chelsea.
Finished the season well, didn't he?
Yeah, it's finished the season. Yeah, they all did, didn't they? He was definitely part of that. Yeah, you're right. He was playing that kind of inverted fullback role towards the end of the season, wasn't he? And I think obviously Carvalhal's great. I think he's really good, but he's 32. And
just been there, done it there, hasn't he? Just
knows how to. And I think there's a bit of that mentality about them, isn't there? Morata up front, I just think he works so hard. He's not a world beater, but I think he was a really good captain for them this tournament. Really led from the front, and even last night, I think just before he went off, he got himself so het up. I think he chased the ball out of play or something, boosted it against the hoardings, and it got me thinking today actually about, because in the build up last night, I actually watched it at home, so I kind of just took in all the build up and kind of listened to them talking, listened to all the interviews and stuff like that. And I just, the more I watched, the more confident I got. I was just like, oh, England are definitely going to win this. They are in exactly the right headspace. They are zen. They are so calm. And then as that like kind of came out in the game as well, I thought they dealt with that first half really well. So it got to half time, and I'm like in my WhatsApp groups giving it absolutely loads about how we're definitely going to win. It doesn't matter when the game ends, England are going to win it.
I think to echo that though, they even dealt with like the conceding the first goal well, and I think that didn't force them into their shells, and they didn't change the strategy too much. They kept with the plan, which was very like the pragmatic Southgate way, and they got the goal out of it, and he made the right subs too. And you were then at that point you were thinking, this is I've seen this before last week and the week before.
And just to come full circle on my point, like I just thought that when my thought today with that was maybe they'd got too calm, and the with Morata kind of being the way that he was on the pitch. It wasn't just that moment. There were other moments during the game where he was like in the referee's face and like all that stuff. And just maybe England didn't quite get the balance of it right. Like they were super calm, and I think they had convinced themselves they were going to win it. But actually the fire that you need maybe to win it as well, just kind of they suppressed it a bit too much. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. They did the classic Southgate thing where they'd scored and they'd gone, oh, right, we're in control now, and then they just switch off for a minute. Like that, the winning goal, Kyle Walker should probably get there. Cole Palmer missed his press, Saka's out of position. Like there's just that lapse in concentration where you have three players that are as good as the Spain guys that put that move together. You're going to concede. Like at that level, you can't switch off, which just looked like as soon as they got comfortable, that's when we were probably our most vulnerable.
Like the defense was so passive as well that we gave them the opportunities. Like you said, like missing the press, you just in a final you can't do it. You make that one mistake and it will lose you the game, and it's lost us the tournament.
Yeah, and you talked about the Spanish coach having that time with the youth and won trophies on that way up. I feel like that's probably the best way forward for me. I think Lee Carsley is the one that I would probably appoint, just because he had the under 21s playing some really good football. Like a lot of them have come through that 21 system. It would be the best, unless you can go get Klopp or somebody, which I don't think is possible. I wouldn't want a Potter or a Lampard or one of these names that's been around. I want a tactical coach that knows how to use the players at his disposal.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I feel like when Southgate got the job, Allardyce had just done what he'd done and whatever, and like Southgate was like the perfect antidote to that, to the chaos that was kind of happening, not just at the FA, but also within the team and the squad, and like the pool of players that England had at that time had just become very meh. And like I think we were playing Rooney in like midfield at that point and stuff like that, and it's like this 8 years, he has completely turned that around. Well, he has played a huge part in completely turning that around. And now England and the FA have this, is it St. George's Park? Is that right? So they've got this like St. George's Park machine now, which is churning out players and creating pathways for coaches and all of that stuff. I think all of that makes it really hard to go and get like a foreign name now, because like you've completely bought into this idea of creating an idea, essentially, which is one of the things that people talk about that England don't have, and it's why they can't, when it comes down to it, like get past that last barrier, because the teams that they're playing do have this idea. And like maybe that's more prevalent at the moment because it's more obvious with Spain. They do have that kind of tiki-taka that they kind of coined and whatever. So yeah, I think Parsley's not a bad shout. Like I wouldn't think it would be. I wouldn't be thinking, oh, we're definitely going to win in 26 now because he's in charge. But it would be interesting to see what he could do. But yeah, I think my point was going to be that now we've got to this point where, so we had Southgate and we needed him, and he's done an amazing job. I think he should have at least one tournament under his belt. So I think that was against Italy, but that's gone now.
Yeah.
The one yesterday doesn't feel the same. They got beaten by a better side. And now England have these players. We have these players that it feels like we're not quite getting the best out of for reasons. Like the tactics might be one of them, but also like, are they being played in the right positions? And like, just putting them all on the pitch, is that the solution, or can we use a few of them more sparingly? Like, there's been a lot of chat about Kane throughout the tournament. I think it's obvious he wasn't fit. I think it's obvious that Bellingham was carrying injuries as well. I saw a picture of him with his shirt off after the semi-final. I think he looked like a Bionic Man.
He dislocated his shoulder. Dislocated his shoulder about 4 months ago, I think. And he's been wearing that ever since to avoid the surgery.
Right. Yeah.
He's been carrying
surgery that he's going to have to inevitably have. So you're kind of leading the Southgate out train, Joel. I think
I didn't realise that was what I was doing, but
it was coming across.
Maybe it's
but I think he's earned himself another tournament. Like, I think he's earned himself the World Cup, and it's up to him. Like, it would be unfair for the FA to say, a far most successful manager, you've taken this team as far as you can take them, because I think he's actually also got the team to where they're at. But I don't know, like that World Cup, England aren't going to do well in that World Cup anyway, because of where it is, the travel, the playing conditions are going to be tough. I don't know. So maybe it's time for a new one there.
So many rogue things just came out your mouth.
Yeah, I've got so many things to say.
Yeah, go on then, pick them apart.
I think that Southgate's taken them as far as he can. I think there's a limitation to, like, we have the best morale in the squad, like that's undoubtable, that's like undeniable, but we haven't got the layer of tactical know-how to go. And if you see our record against top 10 ranked teams this century, I think we've beaten 3 of them. So we haven't got the tactical know-how to go and beat these top teams as it is. And I think that 2026 is the perfect opportunity for us to win something, because our best players are coming into their prime. So we need to have a coach behind them for 2 years. If he wants to do a new system, this is the time to do it. There's no point in like Southgate going on for 6 months, starting the process, and then going, actually, no, I don't really want to do this. Like, you're going to waste time if they don't make a decision now.
Yeah, I'd say he's earned the right to choose, probably. But I think it wouldn't be right for him, and it wouldn't be right for the team either. And for that reason, for those 2 reasons, I don't think he'll stick around. I think this one was one too far. And I think he probably feels like that as well, because he's been quite prickly with the press. And
yeah, around this topic, he specifically has. But I do also think in 2026, I don't think we're going to win. Like, flying around North America, I don't think we're going to win that tournament. That will take it out of us, and we will already have, as we know, leggy players at the point of the tournament, unless like something changes in the way that we manage the minutes of the international players for England. We're always going to have leggy players. It's just how they play. It's the intensity of the league as well, I think. But
I mean, I just think we have to be careful about it, like just completely writing off a tournament because of factors that affect everyone. Like, it's not just England players that's a factor for. Everyone's going to be travelling around. Everyone's going to be playing football before. And England have, in my opinion, as deep a pool of players in terms of quality as any other nation. We just do. Like, is the balance quite there? I think there's question marks there. There's work to be done in order to put the most effective team on the pitch. And even as I'm saying this, like, I know this has been said about England before, and the mid-noughties team. This was always the chat. And actually, there's like a weird parallel with Bellingham being shoehorned into left midfield yesterday in the way that Gerrard was. During that time, like Gerrard, Lampard, Joe Cole, Paul Scholes all played left midfield for England, and now Bellingham's there. It's a bit of a tangent, but yeah, like, I do feel like this is slightly different because those other nations aren't as good as they were in the noughties. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Maybe that's a bit of a misread from me, but I do feel like England are more feared now than they were back then.
I think so. Yeah. I think we are up there with the favourites, but I still think Brazil and France were far above in the early noughties, that it was going to be one or the other in the early noughties in the World Cup.
Yeah. And I don't feel like there's anybody that far ahead of us now.
No, but I do feel like, I mean, how it was in the last World Cup too, specifically, they were underrated, specifically by the English media pre-tournament. The South American clubs were underrated, and I think in a North American tournament, South American clubs have got a good opportunity. A lot of fans will be able to travel to, which they don't always with European and Asian World Cup. They've struggled to get numbers across, but I think they will be for this. I think it's going to be one of the most competitive World Cups that we've seen. A lot of those Central and South American teams are going to be very competitive, as well as now 4 or 5 teams from Europe too.
Yeah, I think all of that is fair, and like the World Cup is super hard to win. I'm not saying that England should or whatever. There are so many factors, but yeah, it doesn't mean that we should write it off. I really feel like with the right management, and I'm not just talking about the coaching there, I'm talking about all of it in terms of like the FA and like from the top down. If they approach it in the right way, then we can have an opportunity again to go into the latter stages of another tournament. But some of these players are going to, how old's Bellingham going to be? He's going to be 22. Foden's going to be like 25. I think Kane's a question mark, isn't he? Like, is he still there in 2 years?
I think he's not playing. No,
probably. I think he probably is.
Yeah.
I don't. I think a new manager comes in and he doesn't throw the big baby out with the bathwater.
No.
Was never getting to the back post for any traditional number 9 runs. And that was the difference. Like, there was an extreme difference. Obviously, Watkins has got the pace, but the extreme difference was that players were looking for him to make those runs because Kane wasn't doing those runs for him. They weren't putting the balls in behind because there wasn't a striker to put the ball in behind too.
That is true, but there is this back injury, isn't there? That isn't really being talked about, that everybody kind of knows about.
Hence his 60 minutes, probably. It wasn't just like hooking off the captain after 60 minutes. It was he'd run his race.
It looked planned, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah. I think they knew he wasn't fit. He gave it 60 minutes. It was pretty ineffective, and then they had to hook him.
Yeah, I mean, with hindsight, would someone different playing those 60 minutes as well have made a difference? Possibly, especially the style of Watkins played. If we had Watkins not just for a third of the game doing those runs, but for 3/3 of the game doing those runs in behind, it was just so threatening. Him and Cole Palmer, love the way that looks for the future too. Really exciting future for England, and I'd love for us to finish on some positives for England. Like, what's the highlight? What's like the positive takeaway that you guys are taking from the tournament?
Some of the old boys will have to not play anymore. Kyle Walker probably his last tournament. You can see Trent more.
He's back. Aegis James is back.
Big takeaways. We have filled our centre half issue. Gahey looks world class.
Yeah.
And he'll be
world class.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he was outstanding. It's probably our player of the tournament for me. That's probably my big, certified win. Kobe Mainoo looked great. I think again could be an England team for the next 10 years. And then Palmer, when he came off, is clearly the spark that we always knew he was going to be. He's now scored in 3 finals as well, so he's a big time player. I think they're all pretty big positives.
And for you, Joe?
Yeah, I think there are tons of positives in this England team. Like, lots of them are still young. 90%, 80 to 90% of the team will be the same in 26, I think. Like, I think Walker will probably be phased out now. I actually think it looks like the right time, doesn't it? Like, I was quite confident that he would keep Williams quiet last night, and that was absolutely not the case, was it? He just that Williams was like the most threatening player on the pitch, and Walker had absolutely no answer for him. So, I think his time in that right back berth is probably done. He might still be in and around the squad because I quite like him as that third centre half. And his pace is a nice option to have. So if he keeps himself fit and he's still quick at that point, then maybe we've still got a left back issue to solve. But other than that, like James says, the centre back issue is long forgotten. Like, we've got Stones, Gray, and Concert have all played in this tournament and all looked really good. You've got
Dunk's played too, but I don't think Dunk's going to play again for England.
No. Not in this
Didn't
tournament.
didn't he come on?
No.
Did we put an extra defender on at one point?
I don't think he played a minute, did he?
I don't think he came on in the knockouts. Maybe I'm
We
wrong.
scored last minute in the
Splitting hairs.
Yeah, but Dunk's 32. Does he go to the World Cup
Yeah,
at
yeah.
34
No, I'm
with
not
the defenders we've got? Don't think so.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not including Dunk in England's positives. But yeah, so you've got Stones, Conser, Gueye, you've got Branthwaite coming through, who isn't even there. Yeah, Wharton in the middle of the park. Minu looked brilliant. So you've got those two plus Rice. I know he didn't have the best tournament, but he's still a world class centre midfielder. I'm not having that he's not.
No.
So like there's tons of things to take forward. They just need a bit of refinement and maybe a bit more instruction. I don't know.
Yeah, forget that. Like Saka's only 22 as well.
Saka's really you mentioned Palmer then as one for the future. And I'm thinking it's Saka's there. So like that's Saka, Bellingham, Foden plus one other. Like it's probably Kane, isn't it? But they just need to figure out if that works.
I'd probably be playing Bellingham deeper, just commit to him being midfielder.
I would like to see that as well. Yeah,
and play Palmer in there, and then whether it's Kane or Watkins or someone else that comes through, you don't really know what happens.
Gordon, there
could be a 19-year-old scoring goals for fun. You don't know.
You're right. Yeah, they're gonna come through. Exciting.
Yeah, I think the depth is a big thing to take forward. Like players coming off the bench and having an impact this tournament has been the kind of that's been the theme for England.
Verdict then. So we obviously, Joel, you called for England as favourites at the start of the tournament, or one of the favourites. I'll give you an out. But you've said favourites, and throughout the tournament, you've been saying this is it. This is our time. Met expectation, exceeded expectation. I think for me, maybe not the way they played, but where they've got to. I thought semi-finals would have been where we should have been in that top 4 place, but probably just exceeded expectation for me by making the final.
I'd say we pretty much performed as we should have. The way the draw fell as well, like anything less than the final would have been a failure. So we got to where we should have, but we've just fallen at that last table again, which is why we could never really consider ourselves. We were never going to run away with it. We just don't have the know-how to win international tournaments. But yeah, I'd say it met expectations for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with James. I think it's a par
score.
Purely because of the way the draw went. As soon as the draw went that way, it all opened up for England to get to the final, and they did that. So,
you know what they say: par golf is good golf.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of
classy segue, 20 episodes in. This is the kind of quality you can expect of a segue now. Home favourite Bob McIntyre got it done at the Genesis Open. Go on, James.
He did, with the most outrageous drop on the 72nd hole you're ever going to see in your life. So he's left-handed, so he's hooked one right into tall fescue grass, and it's got a honking line. He's going to have to hack out and try and get up and down for par. And he's just stood on a sprinkler head in this rough. So he gets relief from that because he stood on an immovable object. So he gets to pick his ball up, take it 2 club lengths, wherever it is, into a less scrappy area, sticks it to 15 feet, makes birdie, and wins the competition by 1 hole. One shot. But because it's Bob McIntyre in Scotland, everyone went, "Oh, that's great." But I just hate that rule so much.
Oh,
I'm assuming he had his driver out so it could stand as far away from the ball in order to stand on the sprinkler.
Don't get me wrong, he's still hitting unbelievable shot.
Yeah.
He's hit a 230-yard 4-iron or whatever it was to about 50. Like, it's a great shot. But I just think that rule is like, if I was Adam Scott and I was in second place, I would be fuming that he's got away with it in the 18th hole.
The rule's the same for everyone, though.
The rules are the scale. And you know what I was reading? Like, professional golfers will bend the rules to every which way. Like, they know how to use them. They know every rule. And like I say, everyone can do the same thing. If one person's bending them more, you're at a disadvantage by not doing it. So I understand it. It was just, it's great to see him win in Scotland. Like, he came so close last year. McIlroy clipped him on the last hole with another one of the best birdies you're ever going to see in links golf. So it's good.
Can't believe that was a year ago, though.
Yeah, no, that's gone so quickly. I'm just trying to have a look at the score because I think McIntyre even got I think he had an absolute honking 16th hole as well, where he hacked out, couldn't get it out, had to take a drop, chipped out, could have made quite a big score on 16. But yeah, me and my brother were chatting about it, and he was like our pick, and he was quite good odds. So Johnny backed him at 21-1, I think, or something like that. So I picked up 220 quid on him, which was nice when the football was on and your bets come in. So yeah, he was already saying he's going to be a bit hungover for Troon now. I was like, come on, it's a major championship being hosted in Scotland. Like, get over there and get to work. So Troon.
So true. And it looks like we looked at the weather earlier, didn't we? 4 days of showers and 12, 13 mile an hour wind. So
that wind's fine. That's nothing too major for Scotland.
A traditional Scottish summer.
Yeah, I think you could see some good scoring with those conditions.
Really low scores with that, won't they?
Yeah, it won't be a 2-3 under that wins. Like you probably get maybe 15 under will win, which is I always think is a bit of a shame. I like it when the Open's proper scrappy. But yeah, so it's Troon, which is nobody's favourite open qualifying, open venue, but probably nobody's least favourite. It's quite a nice course, and it has some good holes. And it will be a challenge in places like there's 1 to 6 is quite like an easy start, short par 4s, couple par 5s, and then you get into like this area between 8 and 11, which are like some ridiculously hard holes. 8 is what they call the postage stamp, like it's only 120 yard par 3, but there is pot bunkers everywhere. So if you miss like your mark by inches, you'd be like happy to walk off with bogey. And then there's some quite tight, long par 4s. There's a train track that runs alongside one of them, which is obviously all out of bounds. So yeah, good start. Then you go through like a tricky period, and then it evens out again at the end.
It's rugged and it's got deep bunkers. And although the wind is going to be 12, 13, it's pretty unpredictable being on the coast. So we'll see. I think you get in trouble with some of those bunkers, and you get players playing backwards out of them. So yeah, looking forward to seeing the challenge that presents for some of these guys that are just playing in shallow soft sand in the US.
Fairway pot bunkers are like 10 feet tall to get out of, so you have to literally come out sideways.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a hole ruiner. But I've had a look at the picks. I said it to you earlier, I'm staying away from Ludwig. I just think he's a bit of a serial bottler. On form, I've got 3 golfers. I'm going to go Rory McIlroy to bounce back. Speaking of serial bottlers, Rory McIlroy to bounce back. I've got Tommy Fleetwood to place because he just loves an Open Championship, and then Aaron Rai, the double glover. Aaron Rai is playing really well at the moment, so I like them 3.
Is that 3 homers for you?
It is 3 homers. Yeah, I'm going completely, UK and Ireland. They know the weather. They know links golf.
Yeah, I just feel like the big hitting Americans might benefit from that lack of wind.
If you look at this Genesis, so the Genesis, Justin Thomas came out and shot like a 9 under first round, tore it apart, and then I think he finished like nearly missed the cut. He was that bad after it. You just get a bit wayward with them drives, and you can be in a world of pain. But yeah, I just like to see someone from this side of the world win the Open Championship. I don't really like it when an American comes over and wins our major, and they've won the first 3 already as well. So we could do.
Wasn't it Harman last year?
Yeah, Harman.
Yeah, feels like last year feels like a write-off with Brian Harman winning it.
Yeah, he was just unbelievable on the greens. But then the year before was obviously Cam Smith, who won from Australia. Rory bottled it again. So I just want at least one major to come to the Europeans would be nice.
So one of my picks, I said to you earlier, also known as a bottler, Schauffele, but his golf, I think, suits it. Then you're not taking him, so I'm taking him this week. Oberg.
Nice.
And then my final one is Tizzy Hatton.
Tizzy Hatton, see? Throw a European in there.
Got to.
Did he play at the weekend, Hatton?
Yeah, I think he was like top 6. He was doing all right. The live event was in Spain at Valderrama, which is like really, really difficult. It's in a European Ryder Cup venue, has been in the past. And like on some of the days, these guys are shooting in the 80s, like it was that tough. And then on the last day, Sergio Garcia, the Spanish, came from nowhere to win it in his homeland. So the Spain had a really good sporting day with Alcaraz.
Oh, hold on for the segue. Let Joel do his predictions first, and then you can talk about Sergio Garcia and the Spanish Armada.
I'm just looking at the betting actually. I'm trying.
Someone's got to pick Tiger Woods, surely.
Easy. The betting odds will be this: Scheffler, Bryson, McIlroy.
Rory.
Yeah, I mean, I always say him, so I'll keep saying Fleetwood because I really want him to win. And yeah, he's gone pretty close in Opens before, hasn't
he? Yeah, he's always. I think the last 4 Open Championships, he's been in the top 10 going into the final day, or it's like 4 of the last 10, something like that. He's always like there and thereabouts. Yeah. But the last time the Open was at Troon, he was like in the middle of his worst form of his career, and he missed the cut by about $1 million. So he's got bad form on the course, but he was playing so badly that year. Like even he says, like he just didn't want to like swing a golf club at that point. He had no idea how to do it. So I like Tommy.
All right, on to the tennis. Feel free to talk about the tennis.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to introduce the tennis.
No, what do you want me to say? Wimbledon final and Djokovic lost, so I'm incredibly happy. Alcaraz back-to-back and Alcaraz, Sinner, Rune. I think Zverev. I think the future tennis. Like, don't worry about Djokovic, Nadal, Federer anymore. We've got the new superstars, and I'm really happy that Alcaraz is kind of leading the pack. Very similar mentality, style, and persona to Nadal, which is great for the game.
Yeah, it started with a 14-minute game, which I watched, and I thought, right, this is going to be an epic. So I'm going to go and cut the grass, and then when I come back in, it's going to be on like set 3, and it'll be perfect. Then I've won 1 each or whatever. I came back in, and it was like, I think at that Alcaraz was just about to hold to make it 4-all in the 3rd set, and then he absolutely stormed through, and then he broke, and then was about to storm through to win it without dropping a point in his final service game, and all of a sudden the momentum shifted. He
complete choke.
Yeah. Djokovic won 4 points on the spin, and it was like, oh, is this going to happen? Is this where it turns around? So yeah, amazing like focus from him to kind of reset for that tiebreak and to take it. But yeah, thoroughly deserving winner. And yeah, I agree with you, Matt. I love watching him play. I think he's a real fun character as well, which is great. And yeah, the men's side of tennis is in an amazing spot. I think they've got some really good players and people who are going to be around for a long time, which is what you kind of need to get people interested in tennis. Like you need like household names, and I feel like they're really struggling for that on the women's side of the game at the moment. Most
people will not know. If I ask around tomorrow, most people are not going to know that Krejcikova won. That Krejcikova won Wimbledon. They'd probably guess Svitolina or Sviatek.
Yeah,
and they're kind of the names that they know around Coco Gauff. Maybe they're the names that are around majors at the moment, but there's no, they're not emerging. Like, they all beat each other all the time, and you get wild cards that are and qualifiers that are beating the top 10 players. It's just so much inconsistency. Whereas I feel like the consistency that you're getting from the top 10, top 5 on the male side, it creates a better narrative for the tournament as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, whenever I watch Pointless, there's always a question about like female finalists at Wimbledon or something, and you could name like the female finalists from 2023, and it'd be Pointless at the moment. Like, nobody knows who they are. It's absolutely mad.
I actually saw the final. I really know Coco Go are the ones that are playing, and I saw some women's invitational doubles, and Ash Barty was in. I was like, why is she not playing in the main event? Like, I know her. She just knocks up for a hit every now and then. Now I was like, oh, that's great. She went to cricket for a bit, didn't she? She's won tennis. She is one serious multi-sport athlete. But yeah, I agree. I tried to watch the final of the women's one on Saturday, and I just didn't know who these people are. Like, can't get any interest in, because I don't know who they are at all. Whereas the men's side, like, I was into it. I watched the quarters and the semis, and the finals was, I thought Alcaraz would win, but he has this sort of thing where he can start a bit slow, and then if Djokovic gets a sniff of anything, he's just such a demon to beat. But luckily, he didn't really get that chance, and straight sets in the final against Djokovic is something that not a lot of people would have done.
No, not many people have straight setted him at all. Really impressive performance over the weekend. And on to another impressive performance, I'd say, from the weekend. I mean, it was done in just over 2 days. But Gus Atkinson on his England debut taking 10 wickets.
Yeah, the next phase of English bowling started very well, if you want to call it that. Test debut at Lords to get yourself on the board straight away is a really, really good start, and is something that we haven't had for a while. He's a tall, bouncy, fast, not like super fast bowler, but he's a problem to face. Like, I know it's only the West Indies, but they've just come off like a huge win in Australia, so they're not a rubbish team. And Atkinson picked them apart for 2 innings in a row. So, yeah, really, really promising for him. And now we've brought Wood in as well for that extra bit of pace for the second test. I wouldn't be as concerned now with the bowling as I was 12 months ago at the thought of Broad and Anderson not being there.
And we spoke about it at the start of the cricket season, James, what options there were in terms of bowlers, and they've got some good young ones coming through. And I like the mentality of Stokes and Baz McCullum in what they want to do for this England side, and bringing Smith in at wicket keeper as well. And he hit a great knock, and that's what we really need from a wicket keeper too. Really safe with the gloves. And I think he didn't concede a bye until well into the end of West Indies' second innings either. So yeah, looking very promising. So that'll be the watch out from Thursday this week. Second test at Trent Bridge, isn't it?
Yeah, the wicketkeeper was great because he came in as, he's being known to being quite a bit of a hitter, and he came in and did the other side really well. Like, he knuckled down, had a bit of a slower start, faced a lot of balls, and then he was like, no, I can do this accelerated, which is something that, Ben Folks couldn't really do, couldn't put the foot down and go and, have a strike rate of 100 off, for the last few years when we got to put some runs on. So great first test for him. Like, even though he's not keeping wicket for his county, didn't do anything wrong with the gloves at all.
They scored really fast, didn't they, England? From what I saw, like I know, like, the bowlers are kind of the focus, but when they play like that, they are so hard to beat just because they score so quickly. So they put so much scoreboard pressure on the other team.
It's also so annoying. You can't buy test match tickets for day 4 or day 5 anymore because you just don't know if anyone's
never going to get there. Yeah,
we're just playing everything like county cricket. It's like, got to be done in 4 days, guys.
So plenty to come this weekend then with the Open and the cricket. But I think that will pretty much wrap us for tonight. Nice way to finish, actually, from a slightly more pessimistic outlook from last weekend onto next weekend. But if you have enjoyed listening along, get in touch at allsportspods@gmail.com.
Have we had any emails?
Correspondence?
Yeah.
Correspondence.
Okay.
And responses. We've got Spotify questions. So if you respond to the Spotify questions, if you've enjoyed the pod or listened along, then you can respond on Spotify questions too. So like, subscribe, rate 5-star, and get in touch. Right. Cheers, guys. Catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, lads.